Hello artists, and today is a day of celebration. We have just hit 2,000 subscribers, and I have asked all of you on Instagram and on YouTube to send in some questions for today's special question and answer video. Before I get started, I would just like to thank everybody who has subscribed and supported me, whether that be through YouTube or Instagram. 2,000 is I feel like a really nice milestone after 1,000. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about the content I'm making. As always, most of this channel's content has been based off of inquiries and questions from you guys, so continue to do so, and I will try and provide as much value for you guys as I can from my small amount of knowledge that I do have / experience. So let's jump into the questions. Alicia asks, did I ever feel like dropping out in the middle of my degree because of work stress, and have I encountered any crazy students while studying art? So actually, before I went to do my painting BA at UAL, I actually did a year of physiotherapy beforehand, and I dropped out of that course after 1 year because I realized I did not want to become a physiotherapist and do that for the rest of my life. So I dropped out, worked for a year, did a foundation course, and then I went into my fine art degree. So I was gonna finish the second degree. I'll be honest, I was at my lowest in the first year, to be honest, because number one, the studio spaces were cramped and small. No one was really coming in, including me for like the second half of the year. I never felt like dropping out because of work stress. I actually was disappointed because I didn't feel enough work stress. And that was partly to do with, number one, my attitude that I had to change, because I didn't realize how much they just leave you on your own just to do your own thing in your studio space. I was expecting to be taught something about painting, so it's kind of like I had to get over that disappointment and then realize, okay, this is all on me. I need to stop kind of just complaining and start setting my own kind of work standards and work ethic. But for the second half of year one, I basically just played around with YouTube, to be honest, and did video editing and stuff, which really comes in handy now, and just really just passed my assessments very easily without much effort, which is a shame, but I did change that attitude for the second and third year because it was more of an engaging studio space, and my mindset had changed over that summer from the first year. As for crazy students, I don't know if you realize, but I'm quite a reserved, generally quite laid back person. So I'm sure crazy things happened, but I wasn't kind of engaging with those crazy kind of scenes. And I was quite good at avoiding, I guess, crazy students, but my year was relatively normal. So time to slaughter some names. So Kai-Dai, Tai-Dai, don't know how to pronounce this. How do I avoid breathing in toxic chemicals when oil painting? I have a very small studio and can't seem to avoid it, even with all the windows open. Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of just the downside of oil painting. My advice would first of all be try to find whatever your practice is, the odorless stuff and the less toxic, because the chemistry is getting better with all of these, I don't know, companies. There is less toxic stuff available out there. Also, while you're painting, always keep obviously lids on any solvents that you're using. One very strong smelling medium I'm using right now is liquid. I haven't developed any sensitivity to these chemicals yet. I'm hoping I won't. I do try to just, keep door or window open while I do work to allow some ventilation. But I know that some people are very sensitive to solvents and chemicals, and you might, I don't know if wearing a mask would help, but it's just one of the realities of using oil paint, I guess. I guess you could paint in a full hazmat suit. Stefan asks, any chemicals you recommend breathing in? Oxygen seems to be a good one. Rebecca asks, can I see any links in what I used to draw as a child and the subject matters I work with now? Also, if I could have a conversation with any contemporary artist today, who would I choose and why? So in terms of what I used to draw as a kid, the earliest memories I have of me drawing is in like primary school, and just wanting to draw Blue Eyes White Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any other kind of monster. And then when I became a teenager, I was introduced to anime in secondary school, so I started watching Bleach, and then I used to like to draw like manga characters and stuff. Toshiro Hitsugaya, of course, Ichigo, Kenpachi Zaraki. So I don't draw anime characters anymore. As for monsters, I'm not too sure. Now, in terms of conversation with a contemporary artist, I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't go for conversation. I tend to care, I don't know, I would more want to stalk them in their studio space and monitor everything that they do with their paintbrush or practice, and just watch them work rather than talk, because I feel like there's a lot of information out there regarding artists' work, but in terms of their technique in the studio, this is more secretive. So the contemporary artist I would choose, honestly, I think he is the best living oil painter alive when it comes to contemporary painting, and that is Adrian Guiney. I would just love to, even if it was just a day, where I could just watch him put a painting together in his studio, see how he uses the oil paints, what mediums he uses, how he builds up his work. That's all I would want. Ooh asks, what are some things that have inspired me recently? Artists, books, music, etc. And who are my favorite artists? So I just mentioned like my #1 all-time favorite, which is Adrian Guiney. I'm actually gonna go on my Instagram saved posts to have a look at some of my other favorite artists. So just to name a few, I guess, I've mentioned them in previous videos too. So Jian Jing, Daniel Arsham, James Jean, what the flip? I also really like Matthew Wong's paintings, Rita Ackerman, Joaquin Sorolla, just to name a few. While I work, I also tend to listen to, whether it be like podcasts on YouTube, Audible books. I recently listened to Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think the name is. So trying to keep my brain like engaged in different stuff as I work, because I already have a kind of painting plan, which is just for me to translate onto canvas. I don't have to think too much about the painting process, so I can actually engage with other ideas while I'm painting, which is quite nice. Keeps my brain very much alive. Hugo asks a good question, which everyone I feel like is always aiming for. Hugo asks, how long did it take me to develop my own style? My development of style really has been developing since first year of university, probably. I was always interested in drawing and kind of realism, but at the same time, this kind of contemporary abstraction and paint textures and stuff. So I was always thinking, you know, how can I combine the two in a way which works, which convinces an audience of a painting, because it's easier said than done. Which is why you see, I guess, a lot of the artists I'm into do have a kind of slightly abstracted twist when it comes to their work, because I've been just studying this language of abstraction versus figuration. But yeah, it took a long time. So I guess my 2.5 years, let's just say about 6 months in, I'd really started thinking about, okay, how do I mix up abstraction and figuration or realism? And then that's 2.5 years of uni, plus another 2 years I spent in China, and only now I'm starting to really feel like I've got somewhere, and things are starting to click. So I guess that's like 5.5 years. I only started oil painting really in my foundation year, so that was obviously the year before I started university. So I don't know if it would have been quicker if I had a bit more experience oil painting, but a long time it took, and I feel like I still need to go a long way when it comes to my painting. So it's a continuous process, I should say. Yeah, your ideas and influences change, but usually having a main thing you're interested in is the best when it comes to developing a style and not trying to go all over the place all the time. explore, but when you find something interesting, stick with it. Chloe asks, what do you do when you come to a bit of an art block? And what kinds of things do you watch or read to gain inspiration and ideas? So one thing I've done to kind of void me of all distraction is if I'm on Instagram, the only accounts I'm following are art accounts. So whenever I open up my Instagram, whether it be to post something, talk with you guys, or just engage with content, it is all art. So I'm constantly being exposed to, I guess, new artwork every day, and I'm not being distracted by any, I don't know, things outside of the art world when it comes to me opening my social media. There's also the fact that, say, 2-3 of the artists that are my favorite artists that I'm interested in, whether it be, QnA, Soroya, or someone else, I stick with these artists to really learn and steal from them as much as I can. So when I'm really inspired by an artist, I don't just look at them for like 2 or 3 weeks. I study their work for like years until I know them inside out, till I try and work out their color palettes, their textures, copy their work, use elements of their work in my own, until I start to develop my own painting language. And that's kind of how my inspiration works. I focus more on process rather than being inspired. I just tell myself like, okay, what exercises can I do to create a new piece of art? For me, it's a digital process. So whether it be digital collage, kind of redesigning images, chopping up paintings. I've got a huge library of kind of paint textures, my own work, other people's work, and then when I combine it all into one, do digital painting on top of it, it becomes a piece of its own, which I then translate onto a canvas. In other words, focus on process rather than waiting for inspiration, if that makes sense. You need to be inspired first, but then take as much as you can from those who are better than you. I hope this makes sense. Finally, Simon asks, I guess this is a good final question as well. Any advice for recently graduated or graduating students starting their career, moving back home, etc.? I preach this again and again and again. You need to focus on how are you going to get your artwork out there. Number one is refine your product. Your artwork is your product. How are you going to get better? How are you improving every single day? Number two is then how are you going to find an audience for that artwork and monetize it? Monetizing your artwork doesn't just mean selling your artwork. It doesn't just mean making a print out of it and selling it. It can also be, obviously, such as myself, making YouTube videos, Instagram videos, whatever, where you have the opportunity, say, for like sponsored deals, advertising revenue. There's more ways to make money out of your artwork than just selling your artwork alone. And there are many free ways to start promoting yourself as an artist if you put the effort in, such as learning how to make videos or putting out good content on Instagram and really engaging with the Instagram community so that your name is kind of popping up in all of these places, and then people will start to follow you and engage with your own content. So I genuinely think the most practical way to do this is literally get good at social media, whichever social media platforms are winning. Yes, go on TikTok. No, you don't have to dance with your painting. You can make a very entertaining video which suits the TikTok culture, but gets you tons of exposure and can change your entire life. So it's all about kind of ignoring the negativity of what everyone else says and just doing what is practical for your own voice, basically, for your own voice and your own artwork. On top of that, if you can find some kind of an income, obviously being in lockdown and quarantine right now or whatever it is difficult, but post that, if you can find some form of income that you can also pour into marketing to kind of increase the acceleration of your exposure to an audience. That's also something that I think is very, very important to learn. And it's important to learn for yourself because then you don't have to pay others to do it for you. But I also made a video feeling lost after graduating from your art degree, so you can check that out. And I've also done a video on creativity and some of the exercises that I use myself to kind of draft up compositions or come up with ideas. So those are 2 videos that are relevant from the last 2 questions. And with that, I apologize if I have missed any questions that people have asked and I've just forgot to print screen them on my phone or anything. just ask in the comment section below as usual, and I can get back to you there. But genuinely, thank you all. There's 2,000 of us now. I didn't expect to come this far with YouTube when I just made my first video kind of documenting my experience for like half an hour, which really kicked off, I should do YouTube. I don't think if you ask any of my classmates at uni, would I be on the internet speaking about stuff, they would ever have guessed that I would have 2,000 now, judging from how quiet and reserved I was at university anyways. But I hope this video has been, answered some of those questions and been a little bit interesting for you guys. Yeah, so thank you. I guess I will do a Q&A every now and again. Maybe in another 6 months to 1 year, I'll do another one. If not, if you've got any further questions or anything you would like to ask me, I'm open to DMs on Instagram, or you can comment below in the comment section. As always, I wish you best for your artistic endeavors. And here is my awkward goodbye.